4. I am pregnant for the first time and I'm making videos about my pregnancy and my journey and all that good stuff. If you haven't seen, I'll put them in the cards, or I'll put the links in the description of when I found out and told my husband, and then telling my family and friends, and then, oh my gosh, my legs are really itchy, I didn't put lotion on. And what else? I have one more video that I put out. Oh, I did this sneak peek. Blood test gender reveal is coming soon. If you've been on my Instagram, you already know. But I'm just waiting for the second blood test to come back from the actual doctor instead of sneak peek, to just like double check before I post on YouTube, which I already posted on Instagram, whatever. But this video is going to be a first trimester like recap. It's weird now because I'm 15 weeks and 5 days, so I'm pretty well out of the first trimester, so I kind of like forgot, but I made a lot of notes. So we'll be talking about like signs and symptoms, like even before I tested, and then symptoms while I had during my first trimester, and then I'm also going to talk about, sorry, I'm talking so fast. I'm also going to talk about having emetophobia, and then getting pregnant and kind of what that was like for me personally. So, like I said, now I'm 15 weeks and 5 days, almost 16 weeks, which is crazy. I'm like so out of breath right now. Maybe I'm just talking too fast. But even sitting here, I'm like uncomfy, and I'm like, this is not good because I have quite a while to go and quite a while to grow, and I already feel big. But signs and symptoms before I even tested, the first one was acne. I have never dealt with acne really ever in my life. As like a teenager, I would get the occasional pimple here and there, like, you know, a little breakout, and then it would go away, but I never dealt with like consistent acne, so I didn't really know what to do. It was all new to me, but it started, so I got off my birth control, and then I got, the first month that I got my period off my birth control, I noticed a lot more pimples, and I was like, oh, this is just my body, you know, getting off birth control. And then I got pregnant, and then it didn't go away even before I knew that I was pregnant. It was just consistently, I'd get new pimples like every day, and then throughout the first trimester I still had really bad acne. So that one was kind of hard, but that was kind of, it was kind of hard to decipher between like, is it because I went off birth control and my body's like trying to adjust, or is it because I'm pregnant? But since it stayed around, that's why I was like, that might be a sign. Another sign was, I felt like my chest was bigger, like it felt bigger, but it didn't feel sore quite yet before I tested, but I could tell that it was bigger than normal, so that was another thing. Oh, I also started cramping like earlier than I would normally, like before, like if I were to start my period, I would start cramping maybe like a day or two before, but this was like a full week before, and I would be cramping a little bit like every day, like a full week before I tested positive. And so I was like, that's kind of weird. Why would I be cramping for that long? So that was another one. Obviously I missed my period. That's like one of the biggest ones. And that's pretty much all for like the signs before I tested. So now we'll go into when I was positive and kind of what the first trimester looked like for me. I was definitely tired. Looking back, it's so hard to like look back and like think how I felt, you know? But I remember like going to, I have a day job that I have to be at 8 o'clock every morning. And so I would wake up like so exhausted, even though like I slept a full however many hours. And I would go in the bathroom to get ready, and I just like couldn't stand there. Like I was so tired and I couldn't even stand, so I was like, I need a chair to sit in while I do my makeup. So I literally brought a camp chair in the bathroom and sat in it because I was just so tired. So that lasted, I feel like that lasted through weeks like 5 through 8 the most. Still definitely tired through the whole first trimester, but it was like really noticeable then. Then once I tested, maybe like a week or so later from getting a positive test, I did notice that my chest was sore, and that lasted throughout the whole first trimester, and still is a little bit, but it's not as noticeable. Like I would lay down in bed and it would hurt pretty bad. But now it's not too bad, but that was definitely a symptom. I was also very out of breath, and I still feel like I am. I do photography, and I remember doing a session, and obviously like I'm kind of like walking around, getting different angles, you know, far away, close, and I was like trying to get them to pose in different ways, explaining them what to do, and I just felt like I was like so out of breath, and I was like, sorry guys. So really in the first trimester, I was just like super exhausted, had a sore chest, and that's basically it. And other than that, it was mostly just like craving foods. I'll go into the like morning sickness nausea thing in a little bit when I talk about emetophobia. But mostly I craved lots of food, and I didn't really have many aversions. I just had things that like didn't sound super good but weren't like, I cannot like get that away from me. And that was mostly like, a lot of times it was like meat, or surprisingly I didn't want like tons of sweets. That is literally making me so mad. Surprisingly I didn't want any sweets, mostly like chocolate, brownies, cake, stuff that I would eat like every night for dessert. I didn't really care for. But I'll tell you some of the things that I did crave, because there were a lot. Most of the things that I craved were not great for me. I craved cheese, anything savory, mostly cheesy stuff like quesadillas, pizza, especially from like Little Caesars, was like heaven to me. Pickles on like a crispy chicken sandwich, like a Chick-fil-A with just thinking of it is beautiful. So pickles on like any type of sandwich, mostly with chicken. French fries, fast food. I ate Burger King and got a Whopper, and it was so good, but then afterwards my stomach hated me. And then like I said, cheese. So like also, I don't know why, but I had this like really big craving for lasagna, like meaty lasagna, which is weird because meat was kind of like a turn off. But I made lasagna one night and it was so freaking good, and I had it for 4 days for leftovers because Jake didn't eat any for like the next 3 to 4 days, so I ate all the leftovers, which was totally fine. Also, if you haven't tried lasagna with white rice, please do yourself a favor and do that. It's not a pregnancy thing, it's me and my mom does it too, and I don't know if it's an Asian Japanese thing that we put rice on pretty much everything, but try it, it's amazing. So those are pretty much my cravings. Not great for me. I also really enjoyed and still do enjoy fruit of pretty much any kind, so that's good. And then instead of like sweets as in chocolate and cake and stuff like that, I really like and still do sweets as in like fruity candies, like Skittles or gummies or something like that. So I just like wanted food in the first trimester, which is totally fine. In the first trimester, I talked about my acne like before I found out that I was pregnant, but then that did continue out throughout my whole first trimester, and it has gotten so much better. I can't remember, I get confused when the first trimester ends, if it's at week 13 or if it's after week 13, like starting week 14, but either way, when I hit like that 13-week mark, I was like, why is my acne not going away? Like, I need this to go away in the second trimester. But now that it's been a couple weeks after that, my skin has really gotten so much better. I would wake up pretty much every day with 1 or 2 new pimples, and it was mostly in my forehead region, and then it kind of moved down to my chin. But in the last 2 weeks, it's been like pretty clear. I've got some eczema and stuff on my face, and then, you know, a few little pimples, but it's definitely been so much better, and I'm so grateful that that was mostly throughout the first trimester when the hormones were like the most there. I don't know, but I'm really, really glad that it's like hopefully done with. In the first trimester, I went to our first doctor's appointment, and I didn't get to go in until like 10.5 weeks. I was really nervous throughout those first, obviously, how many weeks was it? I found out at about 4 weeks, and then I went in about 10 weeks. So I maybe had 6 weeks where I was, 6 weeks, I can't do math, where I was just like hoping and praying that like everything was okay, because I mean, you can't go in too early or else they're not even going to be able to tell anything. And then we were also right at the New Year mark, and so my insurance was going to renew and we would start anew. Anyways, the logical thing to do was to wait until January and go in. So I did have my doctor's appointment scheduled the week of Christmas. It was like the December 22nd. And then we moved it to January 4th to get into that new year, which I was really, like, I cried about it because I was so sad that I had to like wait and have that anxiety for another 2 weeks. But we went in at 10.5. Baby looked great. It looked like a little gummy bear. Like, you can see the little arms, but they're like this, and the legs look the same like that. But you can see the heartbeat, which is so cool. And they sent me like a little video of them, of the baby moving. They didn't really move at 10 weeks, but a video of the baby inside, which was really cool. And Jake does get to go to those appointments with me, which is really nice. The last thing I'll talk about is emetophobia. If you don't know what emetophobia is, I made a video about my experience with emetophobia. It's the extreme fear of vomit of any sort. Sorry, I ate a snack and now it's the extreme fear of vomit. Seeing it, hearing it, doing it, anything about it. And so, as you can imagine, with nausea and vomiting being a really, what's the word? Really common symptom with a lot of pregnant women, it can be really taunting and scary to go into pregnancy having emetophobia. I was extremely nervous, and what's hard is I've never been pregnant before, and so I didn't know how my body was going to react, obviously. But in my mind, if I like were to give advice to anybody that wants to have kids and has emetophobia, I think just preparing your mind for what could be, but don't go overboard in thinking that that's your destiny and that it's going to happen for sure. Because everybody and every woman and every pregnancy is completely different. And for me, I think what was hard was you mostly hear people talk about when they get morning sickness, right? Like, at least for me, like, people that I have followed on Instagram that are like, were pregnant recently, or people that are in my life, you mostly hear when they're not feeling well, and you hear all the bad parts about it, so that in your mind, you're like, that's what's gonna happen to me. Which can be scary because that's not what you want. So I just tried to go in as much as I could with an open mind of like, whatever happens, happens. I will be okay. Every person is different, and just because lots of people get morning sickness doesn't mean that that's 100% gonna happen to me. And morning sickness is a whole array of things. It is not just throwing up. If people say they get morning sickness, that could mean they wake up and they're super nauseous. That could mean they're nauseous throughout the day. They get nauseous at night. Doesn't necessarily mean you're going to throw up. For me, I don't, it sucks feeling nauseous, but because of my extreme fear, I don't mind feeling nauseous. I just don't want to throw up, if that makes sense. So for me in my situation, I have felt extremely blessed. Like I could cry tears of happiness and gratitude because of how grateful I am for how the first trimester treated me. I didn't throw up. I didn't necessarily ever feel like I was going to. There were definitely days, and probably by days I mean 5 to 7 days out of the whole first trimester, that I felt nauseous or gross or sick to my stomach. And usually it would only last maybe a couple to a few hours, and it definitely wasn't in the morning. I usually felt pretty good in the morning, and then usually like between lunch and dinner is when I would start feeling gross, and then I would eat dinner, and then it would be like after dinner that I'd feel gross. But for the most part, like I felt good. Like I cannot complain about how I felt, and I am so grateful, like I said, for that. And there are definitely things that if you do feel sick that you can use to help with that. I don't think there's any shame whatsoever in doing that. Some days I would like suck on a candy, like a Jolly Rancher. You could suck on a mint, or really any kind of hard candy just to like keep something in your mouth would help me. Eating something that was like good and nutritious for me, like fruit, was really helpful. I really liked apples. Those always seem to make me feel better. And you can always talk to your doctor about any type of medication that you may need or want and see what they recommend for you. I didn't have to do that, thankfully, but I definitely would have if I would have felt worse. I definitely would have gotten some medication. I think that's really all I'll say about emetophobia. It's really hard when it's only my experience and I didn't get super sick. One more thing actually I'll say about emetophobia is I could cry about this too. I'm not gonna. Like, you will love this, and this is hard for me to say too because I haven't gotten really sick, but you will love this little baby more than you can even imagine. Even as like it's literally a poppy seed when you find out you're pregnant. But like you would do anything for this like little baby to be healthy and for it to continue to grow and everything like that. So just keep that in mind, this little baby, that you love this little like you will love this little baby so much, and that you'd do anything for it. So it's all I don't know, it's a weird thing when people like with having emetophobia, but also like wanting the best for your baby. Do you know what I'm saying? It's so weird. And that pretty much wraps up my first trimester. It was honestly really good compared to what it could be, and I'm so grateful. I've enjoyed pregnancy so far, and I know not a lot of people can say that, but I'm getting to the point now. I'm only in like my second trimester for a couple weeks, but I already feel big, and I already like I can see a little bump, and I already feel uncomfortable. I'll give you a little, this isn't a first trimester bump date, it's really like beginning of my second trimester, but my mom got me this cute little set, but I'm also feeling kind of bloated, so that doesn't really help. Hopefully you can see that. I took a picture when I was like 13 weeks, so I'll post that here. Anyway, that is pretty much it for my first trimester recap. Nothing too crazy to report. But I have a lot of other pregnancy related videos coming up. If you have any questions or suggestions for videos, please leave them down below. I will be uploading the gender reveal soon. And what other videos do I have? Sorry, I can't think of other videos that I have right now, but A new video will be out every week. And thank you so much for watching. Thank you for your support, and I will see you next time. Bye!